Today we will learn about hormones, drugs and behavior. Now we will talk about effects of hormones on behavior. Introduction. Hormones are chemical substances produced either by specialized ductless, that is endocrine glands in various parts of body by specialized individual cells, or by neurons called neurosecretory cells within nervous system. In the last case, they are called neurosecretions. Both are carried by the circulatory system to various target organs. They influence such processes as growth, metabolism, water balance and reproduction. Hormones play major role in determining the behavioral activities in vertebrates. Their role in insects and other invertebrates has also been observed. Our knowledge about the effects of hormones is very old. Greek philosophers Aristotle studied the effect of castration, that is the removal of gonads, testes or ovaries from animals on immature male birds, and found that they failed to develop sexual characters such as comb, colorful plumage, mating calls and mating behavior. He concluded that testes were related with sexual behavior and reproductive behavior. Ancient Chinese associated testes in humans with the development of beard and male behavior pattern. In 1849, A. Berthold showed that hormones essential for sexual behavior and reproductive processes. Role of hormones. Ethologists have divided hormonal influences on behavioral roughly into two categories. Number 1, organizational effects. These effects of hormones are manifested during an organism's development. Organizational effects involve hormonal influences during critical period in behavioral development that produce relatively permanent changes in the organism's nervous system and other tissues. For example, sex differentiation and patterns of growth for body tissues are partly under hormonal control. Number 2, activational effects. In this case, hormones act as triggering influences on the expression and performance of behavioral patterns. Direct activational effects are occurring when hormone secretion or inhibition of secretion leads to a relatively rapid response. Indirect activational effects require more complex stimulations and hormone secretion sequence. G. W. Harris in 1960 proposed a three-tier linkage between neural and endocrine components with reference to the behavioral functions. Central nervous system perceives and transduces external information to adenohypophysis and to other endocrine glands via the former. CNS mediates responsiveness of the endocrine axis at certain stages. For example, pituitary adrenal and pituitary gonadal axis became highly sensitive during injury and puberty respectively. CNS mediates between the effectors and the affecting agents, that is, it integrates sensory messages from internal system and directs the endocrine system for action. Although cerebral cortex and limbic system have been known for coordinating many functions of the body, the hypothalamic areas have been widely investigated for their role in the different behavioral patterns. Examples of behaviors controlled by hormones. Number 1, hormones and sexual behavior. Sex hormones are essential for sex attraction and recognition of male, sexual interaction between two sexes or courtship, postural responses by male and female to achieve coitus. For example, in female rhesus monkeys, estrogen enhances the female attractiveness and female receptivity. The male copulatory behavior, that is erection and ejaculation, are controlled by testosterone. Moss and McCann in 1973 have worked out that luteinizing hormone releasing factor from hypothalamus directly affects copulatory behavior. Likewise, singing in male birds to attract females of their species is controlled by male sex hormones, that is testosterone. Eversole in 1941 found that immature guppies, when injected testosterone, exhibited normal male sexual behavior of adult. If a chick is treated with testosterone, it starts exhibiting courtship movements. A number of vertebrate female, when treated with androgens, are found to perform male sexual behavior. Number 2, aggressive behavior. Aggressive behavior and also other social behaviors are also influenced by a variety of hormones. These hormones are released from pituitary gonadal system and pituitary adrenal system. In red-billed weaver bird, luteinizing hormone from pituitary controls aggressive behavior. In mammals, males are more aggressive than females because of testosterone hormone in them. Higher level of androgens in blood increases aggressive attitude in majority of vertebrates. On the contrary, the estrogen or female hormones in blood make the female more peaceful. Number 3, male dominance. In social vertebrates male, dominance is associated with testosterone hormone. When a low ranking pigeon was treated with testosterone, it rose to a higher status in dominance hierarchy. Similar results were obtained with chickens, mice and chimpanzees. Number 4, territorial marking. Territorial marking was studied in Mongolian gerbils by Thiessen in 1973. Both male and female gerbils mark their territory by pheromones they secrete from their midventral sebaceous glands. Castration leads to a low level of scent marking for territory by gerbils. The activity was found to be recovered by injection of androgen or estrogen to castrated gerbils. Number 5, persistence. Testosterone increases persistence in animals for a variety of tasks such as searching, discrimination and open field activities. Number 6, hoarding. Food hoarding is associated with females or with female hormones. Food hoarding by male gerbils increased by castration and decreased by injecting testosterone. In female rats, hoarding activity is associated with their estrous cycle. Number 7, wheel running. Wang in 1923 reported an association between female hormones and wheel running in non-pregnant female rats. The 4-day wheel running activity is correlated with the 4-day estrous cycle, fluctuating with the change in hormonal level. Number 8, hormones in learning and memory. MSH or ACTH, that is hormone secreted by anterior lobe of pituitary gland, influences memory and learning processes. These hormones are called. Number 9, adaptive behavior and hormone. Vasopressin, a hormone of neurohypophysis, maintains adaptive behavior of animals. Examples of influence of hormone on behavior. A male rat placed with a sexually mature female rat will mount the female within a matter of seconds and begin a sequence of behavior that ends with copulation. A castrated rat takes much longer to initiate mounting. Which hormonal mechanism underline this behavior? The testes are a source of androgens, hormones that affect reproductive behavior. Injections of synthetic androgens can replace the hormone normally produced by the testes and restore mount to near normal levels in castrated male rats. Many insects such as grasshopper hatch from eggs are reach adult after going through a series of nymphaeal stages. What internal processes regulate this sequence? What behavioral changes are associated with these morphological shifts? If when the insect is in an early nymphaeal stages, one removes the prothoracic gland which secretes ecdysone that is the hormone that controls molting, the normal developmental sequence stops. If, however, a prothoracic gland from another grasshopper is transplanted or if ecdysone is injected, the sequence of nymphonal stages resumes. The hormonal changes are also correlated with certain behavioral transitions relating to diet, activity rhythms and choice of habitat. For example, both the dispersal of grasshoppers individually or in large numbers and the mating behavior of grasshoppers are partially under hormonal control. Now we talk about drugs and behavior. A chemical used to balance the body functions of humans or to treat a disease is called drug. The name has been derived from a Greek word drog that means a herb. Drugs are also given to patients to replenish deficiencies. Drug is called medicine by a common human being. When a drug is prepared from chemicals in a laboratory of industry, it is called a synthetic drug. For example, calcium, thyroxine, aspirin, etc. However, if a drug is produced from a naturally found substance, it is called natural drug. For example, morphine, caffeine, penicillin, streptomycin, olive oil, clove oil, cod liver oil, etc. These are expensive drugs. The most modern types of drugs are genetically monitored drugs which are produced by using the knowledge of biotechnology or genetic engineering. These drugs are still not easily available and are very expensive. They are being used to cure cancer, diabetes, etc. In animals and humans, the behavior is controlled by a number of drugs. Traditionally, drugs are classified on the basis of their effects on one or other categories of responses such as instincts and learning. Drugs alters brain function in following ways: by altering the general metabolism of the neurons, by altering the excitability of the neuroglial membrane, by reducing the blood supply to the neurons, by blocking electrical conductance of the neuronal impulse along the neuron axon, by altering the distribution of water and ions between the neurons and the surrounding tissue. When the drugs influence neuronal function, changes in behavior are observed. If these influences are widespread, the effects on behavior tend to be general rather than specific. These effects may be due to direct influences of the drug on brain tissue, but more often indirect. Types and effects of drugs. Addictive drugs are broadly divided into two categories. Number 1, psychotropic drugs. These are mood elevators and alter the behavior via central nervous system. These drugs are of following types. A. Tranquilizers. These drugs depress brain activities, so are called depressant drugs. They give a feeling of tranquility, reduce anxiety, reduce aggression, relax mind and body, ease out stress, consequently induce sleep. For example, phenothiazines, benzodiazepines, chlorodiazepoxide, etc. Chlorodiazepoxide is used as tranquilizers and to treat withdrawal symptoms of alcoholism. This drug relieves anxiety and reverses the dampening of social behavior when the neurotransmitter serotonin is depleted or decreased. It blocks the anti-anxiety effect of chlorodiazepoxide. This effect leads us to conclude that serotonin transmitter mechanism is involved in the process of anxiety and in the action of anti-anxiety drug. Thalidomide is also a tranquilizer which was taken by pregnant mothers but were reported to be teratogenic, producing congenital malformations in babies such as ectromelia or phocomelia. Sedatives. These drugs also have depressing effect on brain. They are also called hypnotic drugs. Sedatives, when taken by a person, reduce mental activity, reduce anxiety and induce sleep. For example, barbiturates. In prescribed amounts, they act as sedatives, but in large amounts cause a dreamy state, followed by unexpected changes in mood such as abrupt crying or laughter or violence. Barbiturates are drugs for relief of anxiety, insomnia with the associated risks of death by overdose. Opiates, they suppresses brain activity, relieve pain, induce drowsiness and give a feeling of well-being and hallucination. For example, opium, morphine, codeine, heroin, thydine, methadone. Opium is highly addictive drug. Opium has a brownish yellow color, a faint smell and a bitter and acrid taste and is taken orally or smoked. Morphine and codeine are derived from opium, while heroin is a synthetic compound prepared from morphine. Morphine is used to reduce the pain. Codeine has similar uses and is an ingredient in special types of medicines, including some cough syrups. Heroin, commonly called smack, is chemically diacetyl morphine. It is so dangerous and addictive that its possession or use even for medical purposes is illegal. Certain synthetic drugs such as thydine and methadone also produce similar effects. Stimulants, antidepressants, mood elevators, increases mental alertness, for example tea, coffee, chocolate, cocaine, pronazid, amphetamines. Pronazid was introduced in 1950s for the treatment of tuberculosis. It was well noted that some patients experienced a sense of well-being and mood elevation soon after the start of therapy. It also showed antidepressant activity. As a matter of fact, pronazid inhibits the enzyme monoamine oxidase involved in the degradation of neurotransmitters in the synapse. This inhibition results in accumulation of the transmitter substance in the synaptic region, increasing functional efficiency. Another antidepressant drug, the imperamine, inhibits the reuptake of released neurotransmitters and is assumed to have a similar function result to MAO inhibitors. Amphetamine is a classical stimulant drug called pep pills having several effects on behavior. Its principal action is on neurotransmitters such as noradrenaline and dopamine. It stimulates both learned and unlearned behavior in all animal species including human beings. With higher dose, stereotyped motor behavior is observed in which unlearned behavior is repeated for long period of time. For example, rat sniff, gnaw and licking the bars of their cages. Cats frequently show hypermobility, side to side looking movements and repetitive sniffing, and monkeys show biting, pricking or probing of themselves. Amphetamine has marked effect on learned behavior. It is used by human beings to heighten arousal and intellectual functions. People became more active under the influence of this drug. Amphetamine also releases noradrenaline and induces in humans a form of psychosis which may be misdiagnosed in the clinic as paranoid schizophrenia. The drug addicts have olfactory, visual and auditory hallucination, pronounced paranoia and anorexia. Cocaine, commonly called coke or crack, is a narcotic drug extracted from the leaves of coca plant Erythroxylum coca. It causes blockage of the dopamine transporter protein, thus interfering with neurotransmitter dopamine. When it is taken internally, cocaine causes a temporary stimulation of nervous system and a feeling of pleasure. Later, however, the victim is seized by a feeling of great fear and may even become violent. The bad effects of cocaine addiction include lack of sleep, loss of appetite and hallucination, which ultimately lead to damaged mental functions and insanity. Misuse of cocaine may also produce severe headache, convulsion or death due to cardiovascular or respiratory failure. Number 2. Psychedelic drugs. These drugs include LSD, miscaline, psilocybin, hemp products, tobacco, alcohol, etc. Abuse of psychedelic drugs take a person on a trip to an imaginary world full of floating colors. All senses become exaggerated, light looks brighter, sounds get louder, space gets wider, distance look never ending, a person feels as if he or she is flying in air. LSD. This natural hallucinogen is the abbreviation of a German term D-lysergic acid diethylamide 15. It is derived from ergot fungus Clavacis purpurea. This drug is extremely potent even in very small amount. It gives a feeling of euphoria followed by hallucination and sense of being outside own body. Perceptions are vividly enhanced. Prolonged uses can destroy the personality. LSD is highly addictive. Mescaline. It is a natural hallucinatory crystalline alkaloid that is the chief active principle in mescal buttons, which are dried tops of mescal. Mescal is a small cactus Lophophora williamsi with rounded stems covered with jointed tubercles that are used as a stimulants and antispasmodics among the Mexican Indians. Mescal is also the name of colorless Mexican liquor distilled especially from the central leaves of any of various freshly leaved agaves. Psilocybin. It is another natural potent hallucinogen and is obtained from a mushroom Psilocybe mexicana. When taken intravenously, it causes euphoria and hallucinations. Large amounts of this drug lead to violence. It is a highly addictive chemical. Person withdraws from the society prone to sudden outburst of anger. Hemp products. Bhang, ganja and charas are three natural drugs which are obtained from the dried leaves and flowers of hemp plant Cannabis indica. Another drug, marijuana, is derived from another kind of hemp plant Cannabis sativa. Major active component of the marijuana is THC, which inhibits the enzyme adenylene cyclase, thus lowering the concentration of the second messenger cyclic AMP. When these drugs are taken, the pupils of the eye dilated, blood sugar level and frequency of urination increases. These drugs are usually mixed with tobacco and smoked. Marijuana is a mild euphoriant. Under its influence, an inner calm sets in, time seems to expand, reflexes are slowed down and perceptions is enhanced, may cause hallucinations in the form of visual illusions. This drug can completely take over a weak personality by making him or her an addict. Other well-known plants with hallucinogenic properties are Atropa, belladonna and Dhatura species. Tobacco. It comes from the dried leaves of plant Nicotina tabacum and Nicotina rustica, which are cultivated all over the world. Tobacco contains nicotine. This chemical mixes in the blood very easily and acts as a tranquilizer and relaxes muscles, therefore is habit forming. It can be smoked or chewed Prolonged use of tobacco causes lung and mouth cancer. Alcohol. The alcohol, that is whiskey and beer, is consumed as ethyl alcohol or ethanol. Alcohol is produced by fermentation of glucose by yeast and is distilled as liquors. Consumption of alcohol in small amounts gives a feeling of well-being, it elevates the mood, it induces sleep. Alcohol is addictive. As the frequency and amount is increased, it becomes a disease called alcoholism. High levels of alcohol causes slurred speech, drowsiness, less muscular coordination, exaggerated emotions, violence. Alcohol affects the cerebrum and cerebellum of human brain. It causes gastritis, dehydration and excess urine production by decreasing the production of antidiuretic hormone. Liver is the most adversely affected. In liver, the alcohol is converted into acetaldehyde and excess fat. This extra fat deposits in liver, causing liver tissue damage, which lead to a disease called cirrhosis and death. Severe withdrawal symptoms appear upon detoxification. At the end, to conclude, this topic described role of hormones. It is further followed by examples of behavior controlled by hormones and influence of hormone on behavior. Lastly, types and effects of drugs on behavior has been mentioned. Thus, in this manner, complete hormones, drugs and behavior has been studied.